I'm Dr. Barry, licensed psychologist, and today we are going to hop right into the Love is Blind season 4 weddings and after the altar. So, if you checked out my episode 6 through 11 video, I made some predictions and I was wrong and right. So, I was wrong about Kwame. And it was really interesting. And after the altar, the things that he said were kind of left out of the production, and that he really didn't feel like his feelings for Chelsea were really clearly shown. So anytime there was any ounce of doubt, it seems like those are the things that made it into the show. And even the fact that they cut off the fact that his legal first name is Alex, but he goes by Kwame, because there was a big deal made of, is he denying his African roots? Is he trying to blend in with a Eurocentric culture? Like, there was a lot that came out, especially in discussion groups and on social media, about why he mentioned that he debated being known as Kwame or Alex going into the pods. So the big surprise was he said yes. My prediction was that he was going to say no, but he said yes. A year later, they are still married and they looked very happy. They seem more comfortable and content with each other. You didn't get as much of the anxiety or some of those emotions, and within every relationship. So no relationship is perfect. There are always going to be those moments that you might have doubts, you might have different emotions that come up. And within the show, it really seemed like he was dealing with stuff by just agreeing with her, just kind of letting things go and agreeing with her. I was glad to hear that he did move his couch in, because it seemed like he wanted a piece of him to be within their new home together. And the couch was a way for him to kind of do that. And so I truly wish them all the best moving forward. I have no, and who are we to have doubts about people's relationships? But from the way the show went, I could understand if some things were kind of left out, because I will say it 1,000 times over, with reality TV, we're not really seeing reality. We are seeing a produced and very specific type of reality that the producers wanted. And the couples typically don't really get a say in what goes in and what stays out. And it was just nice to see them together. And they did address issues with Micah in the past, where Micah had been, it seemed as though she was flirting with him. Paul even chimed in about how he was kind of flirting with Irina, and that him and Micah had already had a conversation about what they believed infidelity was, that they were okay with, you might flirt with somebody else, but just don't make it a physical thing. I will dive more into the two of them a little later. But with Chelsea and Kwame, they seem to have settled comfortably into their relationship, and these things air after. And the fact that you could watch all of that together and still feel completely comfortable within your relationship, that there was this open dialogue about the things that the other person didn't see or what the person might see in these upcoming episodes, that their relationship is still strong on the other side. Now for my favorite couple, I think it's America's favorite couple from this season, Brett and Tiffany. I have never seen two people that just throughout the entire show just seemed could not be more perfect for each other. And I mentioned in my last video that I was so concerned. The previews had me scared, but what the previews were showing was that Brett was really particular about how he looks. And this is his day and her day. This is their day together. And this is the one day where he wants to look right. And his pants weren't fitting right. They were able to get them tailored. Everything was fine. But that's what the show, because I was like, oh, does she say no? Like, I was really confused. But I was really glad to see that, they are still together, still happily married. I have seen some of the podcasts that they have done along the way with the show, and just hearing them talk about their love, talk about things, it just warms my heart. And they were the two that I thought were the strongest, at least by what we saw on the show, that they really were able to have difficult conversations. They both seem to kind of compromise. I do still think that with the money issue, that Tiffany is going to get used to how Brett spends money, but that they'll have an agreement on, okay, so what's okay within our relationship and what's not okay. And children came up, and I love that most of the couples were like, let's just enjoy our marriage for now, and then we'll see what comes down the road. And please do not ask couple, I don't care how long they've been married, because you never know somebody's individual story. Somebody might be trying to have a child and desperately want to have a child and be struggling with infertility or struggling with different issues. And so those aren't questions that family, that people should ask. And so just don't comment on those things. The only thing they really brought up with Brett was his shoes, that he is extremely stylish, and they just really look amazing together. Now let's get to Bliss and Zach. And I predicted that maybe Bliss might say no, and I was wrong. I was pleasantly wrong. So they, within 2.5 weeks, they were able to continue the relationship that they had built in the pods, and they are now building a successful marriage later on. And 1 year isn't a major marker of a relationship, but with social media, with living your life on display like this, because it really can come against a relationship. And Irina had apologized to Micah. No, Irina had apologized to Bliss, and there was still some emotions that you could tell. There was still some anger, and I don't think I really talked about Irina's apology. So Irina has went on some podcast, and she issued her own apology for her behavior, and that she apologized individually to the people that she hurt, and how her behavior, how it really looked like she was a bully and she was being malicious, that was the view of her that people got from watching the show. And it really was this mirror. That was how she described it. And that's how I sometimes describe how friends and feedback from other people can be. It can show us this part of ourselves that we couldn't really see. Because she probably would have said, oh, I'm not that type of person. And it was really interesting that Zach saw it. Zach saw that if she thought you weren't on her side, that things could kind of shift. It was interesting that she said that she knew immediately after meeting him that she wasn't going to go to the altar, but she was still encouraged to go to Mexico. Who knows if that's true? Because, and maybe, I don't know, people, I don't know, but Zach was like, he thought that she just wanted to do it to become famous. And like there's so many other things you can do, better things you can do, because being a show villain it can get you some followers, some views, but it can also negatively impact things. And it can be a lot on you individually, because people develop these parasocial relationships with people on social media or actors and things, where you get so connected to the character that the person played that you forget that there's a real person behind that. And people might say incredibly hurtful, incredibly mean things. And Irina was wrong. She admitted it. There did still seem to be this external blame, but it is what it is. I truly hope that people work on growing themselves after this. It was interesting to me that Zach said that he forgave Irina, and that is where I like to clarify what forgiveness is and what forgiveness is not. And so in him forgiving her, he does not want a relationship with her. He does not want to talk to her. Like, they're not going to be friends moving forward, but he doesn't want to hold on to the emotional pain of what she did. And within his and his wife's relationship, they are moving forward. They have moved forward in spite of kind of how everything started. And they got to experience some hardship early within their relationship. Once again, no relationship is perfect. You will always have these hurdles. I don't love to see those type of major hurdles that early in a relationship, but it really does test things. And so conflict isn't bad, but how do we manage it? And I would caution against being passive aggressive about it. So I did think, from what aired on the show, at times Bliss could kind of say how she felt, but did it in kind of a joking way, but it wasn't a joke. Like she was really hurt at times, and sometimes that would come out. And I think as a person, it was really good to hear that they were both moving forward in their lives. Now, the one that I got right. I told y'all between Paul and Micah, I was like, I'm confused. Like I didn't know if she was going to say no or he was going to say no, but I just didn't see them moving forward. And I don't know if that was editing from the show, but I was thoroughly confused. And then sure enough, they get to the altar and Micah's asked first, does she? And she says that she wants to hear from him first. And he says in the after the altar that he doesn't think that he would have changed his answer if she had said yes first, that his answer was likely going to be the same, but we'll never know. Because he also said that he doesn't feel he was chosen either. Sometimes in relationships, if we have this fear of rejection, if we have these past wounds, or within this relationship, if we're not feeling as validated, and her friends did not help. Oh my gosh, the friend Shelby, she has, and I forgot her name until I was watching some things that clearly pointed out who that friend was. The fact that that friend was sitting there laughing as her friend's heart is being broken. And Micah waved it off but it reminded me of Irina, of somebody in the midst of somebody else's pain, completely lacking empathy. And sometimes there is a nervous laughter. So it didn't seem to be that type of thing. Now, if Micah had said no and the friend was kind of laughing, okay, like it is what it is. But the fact that he said no, completely devastating her friend in that moment, that is just, in my opinion, that's not what a true friend does. That's not what I would want any of my friends to do. At the After the Altar event, which I haven't mentioned yet, that we had to wait so long for, there were all these memes, and I shared one of the pictures of like, I'm just tired. Love is tired, because there were all of these, it was trending, love is late. Like, oh, like it was but I stayed up, I watched it so that I could give y'all my reaction today. But Micah and Paul got into it over his comment about him not seeing her as a future mother. And she commented that that really hurt her. He tried to clarify that he didn't see them parenting together. And what he didn't say, and from my observation, from what I saw, it seemed like he thought that she was selfish and that she was going to have trouble putting somebody else's needs first. That's just my opinion, that together, like they couldn't even agree on where to live. Like there were just these basic things that they weren't really getting resolution on. And once again, them not working out, that was not a surprise to me. I thought somebody tried to throw out, was it Zach? I thought somebody tried to throw out that she also was just there to be on TV. Like that was, and really wasn't looking towards marriage. And then it came out that Irina might have been the one that said, I wouldn't trust, like, I don't know. Like that's just that little gossipy, like if somebody's gonna say that to my face. Like if you are gonna go behind my back and say those things, like please come and talk to me about that. Like don't go and gossip. And so something that I've learned about gossip, and this is what I tell the teens and kids that I work with, is if a friend comes up to you, a friend comes up to you and was like, ooh, so and so was saying all this and they did this, you need to ask them, and what did you say? Because were you sitting there while somebody's talking about me? Were you sitting there, laughing it up and getting all this information to then bring to me to create this triangle where you're all kinds of in the middle? Like, no, like what did you say? Because if the person isn't coming to tell me, whatever, like it's not that serious. I'm too old. And that might be me being 40. I don't know. But I'm just like, not even trying to do all that. So Micah and Paul didn't work out. Not surprised. Moving forward to that other love triangle of Marshall, Jackie, and Josh. And so Josh and Jackie appeared via video. I think they didn't want to be in the same room with everybody else. And if they had been in the room, I think it would have gotten very heated. And they didn't agree to do that. And her and Marshall will probably never have a conversation. Marshall did say that he wants it to be done. Like, let's cut the drama between us. Let's both move on. Like, she's happily in a relationship. So she's been in a relationship with Josh for about a year now. They were asked what they intend, like, are they going towards marriage? And they don't really want to put labels and things on that. They're in a committed relationship, and that's that. And Jackie did say that she's not the same person that she was then, and that she was escalating quickly within her relationship with Marshall. And I think they were just pushing each other's buttons. I think he was trying to fix her. The whole "you're a project" thing, oh, please, guys, oh, women, do not do this, because it can really set up this codependent relationship. And when I say that codependence, like, we are meant to be interdependent, but to the fact where I see this broken person and I feel responsible, like, I'm going to be the one that can heal you. I'm going to be the one that can teach you what a good guy, like, you've never been loved before. Like, I'm just going to love you so much that you're going to love me back. And in my experience, that typically starts a dynamic where there can be trauma bonds. There can just be, it just typically doesn't end up being very healthy. And so I wasn't surprised that they did break up. Their communication style did not seem to be very healthy. It did seem to escalate and get personal very quickly. And Jackie brought up that he had made a comment to her, and he tried to clarify it. It was after she had called him gay, that he didn't make a slur, but that he made his own insinuation about her, which he admitted was inappropriate, but they were not right. And then Marshall kind of harped on the fact that he wanted to get to the altar. And there seems to be this idea of marriage where it's like it's up on this pedestal. Like, I just wanted to get to the altar. And he didn't even say, like, whether he would have said yes or not, that he just didn't, that choice was taken from him. And I think I'm glad. Like, I would want, if somebody knew before we made it to the altar, if they decided, "Oh, I don't want to do this," like, please let me know before I put on my dress, get my hair, do my makeup, like, but in front of my family and friends. Like, I would rather it be a personal thing. But the show is kind of like Love is Blind, and you're going to make this decision at the altar. I did watch Love is Blind Japan, and I'm going to watch Love is Blind Brazil. At this time, I don't plan to do content on it, but there were, in Love is Blind Japan, fewer people made it to the altar. Like, there were a lot of people before they got there that said, "Ugh, this isn't for me." And they ended up breaking up before they made it to the altar. And I think within our culture, within our society, it's like we can put marriage up on this pedestal that, "Oh, I just want to be married." And it's like, do you really want to be married, or you just want to say that you're married? Like, it just, and then he also felt that he didn't get a chance to confront her face to face like other people did within the After the Altar, because she did record everything before, and he didn't get that closure that he wanted. I do hope, and I don't know where he is, and it's none of my business, but I do hope that in him moving forward, that he's able to do that without getting that closure. That, okay, this person saying no, like, that he can work on those things, because you don't really want a project. Like, for me, I want an emotionally mature person in a relationship, and within any relationship, because no relationship is perfect. Brett and Tiffany, they're going to have conflict, like, things. Every single person up there that is in a marriage, that's in a relationship, there are going to be things that they have to work out. And adding, "I'm here to fix you," like, it just makes this power dynamic of, it's just, it feels not so great. So it's not something that I recommend. If you want me to go deeper into any of those things, let me know in the comments. And if you have questions about things that I've said or reactions that I've had, please let me know. They ended with Bartise coming on and talking about his baby, which was a surprise, because I just watched, what was that other show? I had to look it up. He was just on Perfect Match, and I watched Perfect Match recently. And wow, he has a whole baby and he's going to be a co-parent, and truly wish him all the best. But that was a bit surprising. And they used his announcement to ask if any of the couples were interested in having kids. And Bliss and Zach were the two that might be, maybe from what we saw, like maybe they're not trying now, but that they might be the first ones that maybe decide to start working on family planning. And if y'all want a video on how children can impact marriage, let me know, because you want to make sure before you have kids do not make marriage better. They add an additional dynamic, and it's not the child's fault. So I'm not saying that it's the child's fault. What I am saying is that if communication is already poor, if roles are already not very clear, if you haven't really talked about what parenting is going to look like, what's the load going to be between the two people, things can easily be assumed. And so making sure to make those things clear going into a relationship, going into having kids, I think that can all be incredibly important. But so overall, that was season 4. I'm glad to be a content creator now. So I have watched every other season of Love is Blind and didn't really do content on it. And I do hope that within my reactions, because I try to include educational information that can be helpful. So I don't want to just come on here and just, I saw this and this is what I thought, without also giving you all something like, oh, something to think about. Conflict doesn't have to be bad as long as we manage it in a healthy way. And that marriage, it's for grown folks, like emotionally mature. Like it can be difficult and it can be great too, but don't undervalue singleness. Like there's nothing wrong with being single, but often I think people equate singleness with loneliness, and marriage can be lonely. And I think sometimes we don't talk about that enough. So those are my thoughts. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.